Prince Harry has got in touch with a lot of people surrounding the royals about a possible return, some sort of easing himself back into what goes on in this country, and tries to repair his image. This has been reported today in the Daily Mail.
Yeah, the major move is being branded as Operation Bring Harry In from the Cold, as he's allegedly growing dissatisfied with advice from American-based image experts. Let's
now speak to Jack Stooks. Now, Jack is a former gardener, senior gardener, top man at Highgrove there. And did you know Harry, Jack?
Yes, yeah, I did. The Harry I knew was always amazing, really good, lovely to be around. I think everybody wanted to be around him, really. He was the sort of life and soul of the family.
Sounds like the Harry we all knew as well. And it's plausible, if we don't know if it's true or not, that he might be wanting to come back. We definitely get the sense that he's looking a bit directionless. And as most fathers will tell you, I'm sure, they can usually find room in their heart to forgive. I'm sure that's the Charles that you know as well. And how much weight do you put on the argument that actually this decision all boils down to whether William can ever forgive him?
I'm not quite sure whose decision this is actually and where it's coming from. I know we're hearing reports coming from Harry. However, we don't know that it could actually be, coming from within the palace walls. They might be saying, we've got the monarch who's unwell, we've got the Princess of Wales who's unwell. We're not seeing the family as much as we were when the late Queen was alive. So to sort of be able to bring Harry back in, it might be, more of a family move. I think actually we could really use Harry right now. And Harry might be thinking exactly the same, and, trying to mend broken walls, really.
Now, Jack, your microphone's breaking up quite badly. We'll persevere with you just for the moment. Not persevere with you, persevere with the sound quality. For a bit longer. But what about his wife? What role would she play in all of this? Does it just depend on what Harry thinks, or how much consideration do we have to give to what his wife would think?
I personally didn't know Meghan, never met her. Obviously, was lucky enough to go to the wedding, and that was an amazing day. At the time, I think the British public really warmed to her and welcomed her into the fold. With hindsight, with what's gone on and family problems within her family and the rift that was caused from Harry upping sticks and leaving, it's touch and go to see what happens. I think maybe let's concentrate on. I would say get Harry back in, get him in slowly, sort of drip feed him back into the fold. And once we've got him back and people can actually see how much he does for mental health, how much he does for people coming back from the army with various problems that he supports at the Invictus Games, things like that. Let's just remind everybody how much he can bring back into the family. And once we've got that, I'm sure we'll start seeing Meghan being brought back over on family trips or maybe sort of odd events, and we can maybe slowly bring her back in and actually start to see his family and children as well.
Jack, could he fulfill that role if he didn't live in this country?
I think if we go back in time and we remember what Harry wanted to do, is he wanted to go and be an ambassador throughout the world and go around different countries and be the ambassador outside of England for the family. And whether or not we agreed, I thought that was a pretty good idea because, Harry has a way with people. He is a warm person. He is really generous with the way he gives as a person. And to be able to sort of go and you see him doing events in Africa, or you see him doing things in America or Canada or wherever it may be, I think it would be of benefit to the family.
Well, Jack, I mean, he has that Diana quality, doesn't he? That ability to connect with people. But clearly, the late Queen, Queen Elizabeth, really didn't feel that he could do a part-time role. She famously said, you know, you're either in or you're out. And it would depend very much on whether or not the King would be prepared to change that, because it was very clear what she thought at that summit, along with William at Sandringham.
Yeah, no, I know that did happen, but what we've got to remember is at the time, you know, we knew a book was coming out, we knew various things might come from that, we knew that there was problems with Meghan's family, and there was a lot going on at the time. I think things have, you know, sort of been brushed aside to an extent. Whether or not the book was a mistake, I mean, he might think it was a mistake, he might not think it was a mistake. What we tend to do is we judge him on just the fact that he wrote the book. What we don't think is, why did he write the book? You know, we don't ask the questions as to, there was a reason behind him having to have his story known. And maybe, you know, he needed that. Maybe he felt he just needed people to know his side of the story. Completely, there was things in the book that I don't think were necessary to put in the book, but you know, that was his doing, and whether it was his mistake, we obviously all learn from mistakes, and hopefully, you know, that family can forgive. I mean, not forget, but be able to sort of move on in a different way.
Well, Jack, thanks for your perspective on things. Really appreciate your opinion and your insider knowledge there. Jack Stooks, thank you. Prince Harry has consulted former aides about a possible partial return to Britain as he seeks to repair his public image. This is being reported in the Daily Mail today. Yeah,
the major move's being branded as Operation Bring Harry In from the Cold, and he's allegedly growing dissatisfied with advice from his American-based image experts. Joining us now to discuss this, former royal correspondent Michael Cole. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning, Eamon. Good morning, Isabel. Good morning. So it would seem that California, the Golden State, has lost a bit of its luster for the man we used to call the Happy Prince, but who seems to smile a little less these days, doesn't he? But let's be absolutely clear. Prince Harry is not contemplating ending his 4-year self-imposed exile to America and coming back to live here permanently. As Eamon just said, what has happened is that he's contacted a former aide in this country and been speaking to some of his other pals with a view to improving his public image in this country so that he can come back more often with no problems, and even, he believes, perhaps start performing a few minor royal duties. Well, I think the chances of that are nil, but it does indicate that he wants to return to something like the relationship he used to have with this country and with his own family.
We've been down this road before historically. We go back to 1970, the Duke of Windsor in France, and he was there with, what was her name?
Oh, gosh, the American...
Wallace Simpson.
Yes,
Wallace Simpson. 2 points. Well done. So I don't know if he wanted involved again or Wallace Simpson did, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, when the Duke of Windsor, as he became Edward VIII, went into permanent exile and abdicated on the 10th of December 1936, he was never, ever, or very rare occasions, was he allowed back in this country. He was packed off to the Bahamas during the war, and even when he came back after the war, he wasn't even allowed to land in this country. And he only ever came once to see his mother and then to attend the memorial service for her and open a plaque for her. So, quite frankly, as the late Queen Elizabeth II said, you know, you're either in the royal family or you're not. You can't be semi-detached. The thing is, Eamon and Isabel, that if you are a member of the royal family, you are. You don't have to do anything else. But if you're halfway in the royal family, you have to be. You have to be doing busy things. You have to be going to Nigeria. You have to be going to Colombia. You have to justify your existence. And that's what he's doing. I think with these little movements, shall we say, it does indicate, I'm not an expert on body language, that he's not particularly happy. He never looked particularly ease when you see him. Perhaps he misses this place, which we criticise, but it's a pretty wonderful country. He was back in Norfolk in high summer last Wednesday for the memorial service to his late uncle, Lord Fellows, and he must have looked around. He knows the place very well, got plenty of pals, and say, but what have I left behind? Why did I do it?
Yeah.
But, Michael, I would say he can't decide anything on his own. I'm not talking about the royal family involvement. I'm talking about his wife's involvement in all of this. He can't make this decision and say, I'm heading back, I'm going to get, reacquainted with everybody again. She has to give it the Meghan assent.
Yeah, I think it's like any marriage. You have to, if you respect your wife or husband, you consult them very thoroughly about such things. Her commitment, I don't think she would ever want to come back here. She's made that plain what she feels about the country, although she couldn't have been given a more warm welcome when she joined the royal family, the wedding in 2017. I mean, it was a glorious event. The whole country was united in welcoming her. Do you know what I feel? I feel it's the greatest pity because they could have made and were making a valuable contribution around this country and the 54 nations of the Commonwealth. They could have done great things here. They would have had the backup and the know-how and the support of Buckingham Palace, and they wouldn't be having these dilemmas. It's a terrible thing. What they need, I was going to say, what they need is not a PR man. They need a peacemaker.
Yeah.
Because, blessed are the peacemakers.
It seems to me there are two roadblocks, apart from the Meghan factor and whether or not she would want, this change of direction for Harry again, and that is forgiveness and trust. Now, I can see the king forgiving his son. Most parents can forgive their kids most things, can't they? Whether or not William could ever forgive his brother for the things that he said, the things that he's alleged to have done. Imagining that he did, even if they both forgave him, could they ever trust him again? Because let's not forget, Harry has done some pretty... Well, betrayal doesn't even really sum it up, does it? The sort of secrets that he's aired for money have really undermined and eroded their trust.
Yeah, the brothers are at war and there's no sign of an armistice, I can tell you that. It'll be a very, very long time, if ever, that Prince William finds it in his heart to go back to the relationship which had existed with his younger brother. Because, as you say, these betrayals have been very, very hurtful. Prince William could probably accept the criticisms himself, but when Prince Harry and Meghan criticised implicitly and explicitly his wife, Kate, now undergoing a cancer treatment, that is one thing I think he found unforgivable. And when they were in the same church in Snettisham in Norfolk last week, they didn't look at each other, they didn't exchange a word. I mean, there's an ice cap over their relationship, and it's not melting. And I doubt that it will melt for a very long time, if ever. There are reliable reports which haven't been denied that if and when the time comes for the coronation of King William King William V, WV, he would not want to invite his brother and would not invite him. Well, that is a fantastically direct and hurtful snub to Prince Harry, but that's perhaps an indication of the damage that's been done to the relationship.
Well, appreciate your take on things, Michael, as always. Thank you very much indeed.